This shoe with a review of a entirely Korean brand called Sphere. As the name suggests, it's got two spheres um, butting heads with each other. That is the main cushioning concept. This is something that's been used in Nike before, called Tune Air. They had something like this, but a lot more rigid, situated inside an air sole to act as pillars instead of just foam. Nike ditched that idea for a couple of years. Obviously, I guess it didn't work nicely in tandem with the air sole, or maybe they had some other issues. But I understand the CEO of this Korean company used to work in Nike or one of those major brands. And of course, when they came out, they would have had to sign an NDA and then promise never to use the knowledge they had in Nike. But of course, they would utilize other ways to introduce new tech. And this is a pretty brilliant shoe for the first model that's been released. This is called the goorv 001 ro-70. They gotta come up with a simpler, cooler name. First of all, for a size 10, it weighs about 340 grams, so it's pretty light, and it's light as the digits show. Overall, it fits nicely. I would say you have to go up at least half a size, or even a full size if you're a wide footer. It hugs and fits your foot nicely without any crazy dead space on the toe box or anything like that. No crazy pinching sensation. The upper material is pretty fantastic. It's like a cross between a knit and mesh, and it's very breathable. At the same time, to reinforce this flimsy upper, they use fuse coating appropriately and strategically, even pulling it all the way from the heel to the midfoot area. That is definitely providing some extra lockdown there. The heel cap is soft, but they're like something sort of like a clutching concept they had in some good ASIC shoes. Most importantly, there are no pinching sensations anywhere, and the padding is minimal but adequate. Even the Achilles heel support here is soft and flexible enough so that it won't poke into your Achilles. And the tongue is not a one-piece upper. The tongue is separated, but at the same time, a brilliant thing they did was they actually stitched one bit here on the medial side, so the tongue won't be like sinking in. It'll always bounce back up and stay there while you're able to spread it open, and the tongue won't be moving around and getting lost. So little stitching here on the medial side, that's a brilliant solution that no one thought of until now, I think. Interestingly, I have this cute logo that says warning, not suitable for walking. You gotta keep running or don't stand in this shoe. Also have some interesting labels there, but I think they kind of overdid it with this. It would look better without it, simpler. The designer and the CEO is someone who actually runs and works out and tests his own products. First of all, this shoe, he actually tested it for over 2 years before releasing the prototype, and by the looks of the clips I saw, there was almost hardly any wear and tear. The outsole is pretty thick and durable. The sphere, the lower sphere is, it just has a bit of a suction cup. I guess there will be some degree of air encapsulator once it hits the floor, but it's much softer. So the density here, this is more like a capsuled air there. So it bounces off each other nicely. Yeah, it folds and bounces off nicely. So this is a proper tuned air done proper. The idea or the concept of tuned air revolutionized, and doped up. So it is brilliant. And the best thing about the sphere cushioning, the kinetic sphere cushioning, is the fact that when they miniaturize this on the forefoot, if you remember, the shocks column and the heel column works nicely. You can feel the column working, but when they've had the miniaturized shocks column on the forefoot in those Vince Carter basketball shoes and cross trainer shoe, you felt nothing. Actually, you felt less than nothing, worse than nothing. You might as well have just Phylon or lousy, cheap EVA material on the forefoot. It'll still work better than those mini columns that does absolutely nothing. But unlike that, the sphere miniaturization works. Individually, they perform brilliantly. You can feel them working under your foot, bouncing back and absorbing the shock well. But unfortunately, one downside I have to point out is that this size works nicely on the forefoot, the level of pressure that you apply on the forefoot area. But on the heel, where the whole weight is going to be pressed on it, especially if you're a heel striker or your flat foot striker, this compresses a little bit too drastically. The moment you put your shoes on, you will feel the individual sphere compressing extremely. They need to do something to provide, I suppose, a shield or some kind of a stability all around, encase it with something a little bit rigid, or do something to improve the rigidity, or have a double layer of this on the heel instead of a double-sized bubble like this one. It just sinks too dramatically. The founder and the designer said this is for new short runners, so they did not put into consideration what they should do to provide the support for over or under pronators. Good that they admitted that and they acknowledged that, but it's a bit too extreme on the heel. So they will need to go back to a drawing board and try and come up with ways to change this, because it feels like the tips of Vapor Max shoes, Nikes, remember when you're stepping on certain edges, you feel it just compressing extremely. You have that happening in all angles here. So yeah, I mean, it's a brilliant shoe for a light stroll, 4-foot striker. Definitely, this is a good shoe for you if you don't mind sinking heel sensation. But overall, this is a deal breaker for me, the heel sinkingness. Other than that, this is a brilliant concept, and what they demonstrated on the 4-foot with the cushioning miniaturization that works, they definitely have something really promising ahead. I look forward to the next Sphere model to come up and hit the market. I know it's going to be a big challenge and a struggle for a small Korean firm, from guys who used to work in major companies that probably might have a target on their back, but I do salute their efforts. I do praise the evolution they demonstrated from what Nike failed to produce, I suppose, or failed to impress us with. And I do sincerely hope they come up with a newer version with some changes in the heel so that there's a little bit more resistance compared to the 4-foot. 4-foot is excellent.